gracious, look at all you people sitting in those chairs waiting to listen to little old me. Isn't that fantastic? All right, goodness. First order of business, I got to make sure I'm in the right room. A lot of rooms, a lot of speeches going on. This is indeed the speech on foreign barbed wire and its effect on the 21st century, right? Oh, what am I thinking? That's next week's speech in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. This one's on near-death experience, right? Don't worry, I have the notes in my head. I am prepared. So, before I get started, we are going to watch a very short 5.5-minute video clip, which is the highlight clip, or almost like a trailer to Peace Without Both Sides of the Gate. And that'll get you revved up to listen to me, okay? So let's turn the lights down and then let her rip. So, how in the world did I come up with the idea of making a documentary film on near-death experience? Well, I'll tell you. Sitting around one night, kind of just vegging out, watching YouTube, and something comes up that says near-death experience. I said, sure, why don't I click on that? So I start to watch this video. About 2 to 3 minutes in, I am entranced with this woman. I'm in love with her. I just cannot believe what I'm hearing. My jaw is on the floor. And I bet you a lot of you in this room can guess who I was watching. That's right, Anita Moorjani, okay? So I watch Anita Moorjani's YouTube video comes to an end, and I am emotionally and physically exhausted. I can't believe what I just watched, okay? Now, you know what YouTube video does, don't you? When a video ends, they give you a whole bunch of other little videos to watch that are like the one that you just watched. So, more videos on near-death experience, and I was game. Something happened to me in between watching Anita Moorjani's video and the next one. I made a connection or correlation between the near-death experience and the blood that runs through my body that makes me the man that I am today. I made a correlation. And it was already starting to generate in my head. The gears were already starting to turn after Anita's video. Pop in the second one. I'm watching it, and here's this gentleman describing a conversation that he had with his grandmother. All right? And his grandmother is telling him, hey, listen, when you were little, when you were just 6 months old, your mother didn't want you. And she actually threw you in a garbage dumpster. All right? And this certainly affected this man. And it actually led to a suicide attempt, and that's where he had his near-death experience. Okay? He wrote a book about it. It's called Boom, which, by the way, is available in paperback. All right? And he's describing Boom, and I have my own Boom. I said, I know where my next documentary film is going to be coming from. It's going to be on near-death experience. I knew it. I can feel it. It's coming from above. I have to do this documentary film. And I'm going like, how am I going to put this together? All right? I'm getting ideas. And really, when I make a documentary film, the subject matters of my documentary film, I don't go to them. The subjects of my documentary film come to me. They land in my lap, as did Peace on Both Sides of the Gate. Had to make the film. So I continue watching the second video. Comes to an end, I go, I got to write down this guy's name, Chris Batts. All right? I'm going to have to Google him or maybe look him up on LinkedIn, maybe Facebook or something like that. And I found him on Facebook. And sure, I messaged him, but he probably gets 10, 15 Facebook messages a day about near-death experience. And he didn't respond to me right back away. And I didn't mind that. I knew that was going to happen. But what I did was I grabbed a piece of paper and pencil and I started scribbling notes. What am I going to do? How am I going to make this film? Okay? I can tell you what I didn't do. I didn't just watch a bunch of YouTube videos and go, I'm going to string near-death experience stories together and make a documentary film. No. Very, very meticulous about it. It has to have a direction. Before I even pick up my camera, before I even shoot frame number one, before I do any principal photography, I'm going to have to eat, sleep, and breathe near-death experience. I have to know the subject. Okay? I'm going to have to go website after website. I'm going to have to do a ton of reading. I'm going to have to know who the characters are and what the organizations are. I'm going to have to do all this stuff first, okay? I'm going to have to create a speech. Well, maybe not a speech. What should I call it? A pitch, all right? A pitch on how I'm going to approach these NDEers and the organizations. And I called a lot of people. I emailed a lot of organizations. It was something like this. Hi, my name is James Bonato. I'm going to make a documentary film on near-death experience. Do you want to be involved with it? Do you want to be in the film? funny enough, every person that I called and every person that I emailed, they gave me the same pat answer. They said the exact same thing. It was almost like they were in cahoots against me. They were rejecting me all the same with the same words. They were very, very eloquent about it. I'm trying to remember them. I want to do it justice. Okay, I remember what they said. They said, That was it. No, short and sweet. I said, goodness gracious, what am I doing wrong here? Okay? And so it wasn't until the 5th or 6th rejection email that I got that turned me around. It came from Dr. Bruce Grayson, who wrote me a very, very long email. It was very nice of him to do this, but he still rejected me. And he said, hi, James, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but quite frankly, we here in the near-death experience community, we don't like uncouth documentary filmmakers. They come in, they shake your hand, they sit down, they film you, they smile, they go away, they pack up their tripod and equipment, then they go back and edit it, and it's a smear campaign against the near-death experience community, and I don't like that. And I don't blame Dr. Grayson for not liking that. I wouldn't like it either. But what he made me do is he made me pivot. I said, I'm going to have to approach this thing from a different perspective. All right, I'm going to have to change my speech, change my pitch. And that's what I did because I'm a very clever boy, all right? So I kind of rearranged things and I said, why don't I approach it like this? Hey guys, this is not going to be a smear campaign. This is going to be an objective documentary film, okay? It's going to be factual, okay? I'm going to film the NDEers, you guys. I'm going to put you on film. It's going to flow like a river, and the audience will decide how they feel about near-death experience. They're going to make up their mind. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a documentary film, would it? Okay? But all of my documentary films that I've made 4 so far, they're done with that approach. I know that. My wife knows that. My nephew knows that. My dry cleaning lady knows that. Okay? So I come with that approach, and I came up with a new pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how the new pitch went over. All right? I'm going to compare it to something. Do you all remember General Custer's last stand at Little Bighorn against the American Indians? Yeah. My pitch didn't go that well. I was still striking out. I couldn't get any traction. Even my boyish good looks were not getting me anywhere, just striking out. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to have to put this idea on the shelf. It's not going to happen. And that's what I did. I forgot about it and just didn't think about making the film for about 20 minutes. You don't know me. When I get an idea in my head that I'm going to accomplish something, that I'm going to make a difference in the world, and it may be something very small in my little world, I'm going to do it. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care what it costs. I don't care how long it takes to do. I'm going to do this thing. Anytime I see an opportunity to change the world, I have to take that opportunity. Always take them. I wish I would stop doing that sometimes. My life would be so much simpler if I just walked away from these opportunities, but I have to take them. All right? I have to take these opportunities. So in that time, Chris Batts decides to message me back on Facebook. I said, oh, this is wonderful, okay? And we arranged a phone call. He's in California, and I'm in Maryland. There's a 3-hour difference, and we figure out a time to call, and comes time to call him. So I'm calling him up. I had a very old phone, you see. Okay, and then I said, I better not jump into this thing right away. Why don't I ease into it, okay? I said, hey, Chris, it's James Bonato. Thank you for taking the call. I understand you're in California. There's a heat wave out there. He goes, yeah, it's really, really hot out here. I go, well, I'm here in Maryland, and it's not too bad. It's not too hot. I shot a wedding yesterday outside, and it wasn't too bad. By the way, guys, that's how I make my living. I'm a wedding videographer. I've been shooting them for 35 years. I've shot over 1,000 weddings, okay? And by the way, I don't make a penny on any of the documentary films that I make. These are affairs of the heart, all right? Nothing to do with $1, all right? So back to the phone call. I said, yeah. So today, the wedding was lovely last night, and today I'm kind of just relaxing, taking it easy. I'm watching TV. I just watched Gilligan's Island. It was the episode where they almost got off the island, right? Okay. So now I'm going to hit Chris Batts with the documentary film idea. He is a very, very good listener. And he must have seen the genuineness in me. And he said, you know what, James, I want to be in your film. I was like, well, that's fantastic. He goes, James, how many NDEers do you want? I said, I want 4, which is a slightly courageous number. I've made a lot of documentary films. It's always 3. 3 stories, 3 situations, 3 people. But I said, I can do 4. And Chris said, all right, well, I'm your first of 4 people. Okay, your second person really should be Sharon Milliman. And I said, okay, that's wonderful. Third person, Jennifer Dean. I said, well, this is wonderful. I got 3 of the 4 already. He was tossing around names for the 4th and final NDEer. And he was putting out some feelers, and he gave me the names, and I was putting out feelers too. And I said, you know, I'm going to email some of these people too. Okay? And this time, though, when I email, I'm going to name drop Chris Batts because his name has currency. All right? So I put out those emails. And in that time, a Saturday appears, and it's time for me to do another wedding. And I'm filming this wedding, and the portion of the wedding that I'm filming is called Cocktail Hour. I'm filming Cocktail Hour. Cocktail Hour happens after the bride and groom are now married. The ceremony is over, and they're sitting around with wine glasses, talking to their guests, and hors d'oeuvres are being passed around. And my phone buzzes. Usually I don't answer the phone during a wedding because I'm working, but it was Chris Batts. And he goes, hey, James, I got your 4th NDE. And I said, wonderful, who is it? He goes, his name is Peter Panagore. I said, oh, well, goodness gracious, I know all about Peter Panagore. I've seen like 4 or 5 of his YouTube videos. You can't research NDE and not come up with the name Peter Panagore. So it was wonderful. I put my phone back away, and I come back to filming Cocktail Hour, and I'm all giddy. All right? I can't believe it. There was a guy standing next to me having a shrimp cocktail, and I was like, hey, pal, I just got Peter Panagore to be in my documentary film. How about them apples? I didn't do that, though. I didn't want him to think that I was crazy or anything like that. Went back home and started to figure out how I'm going to film all 4 of these characters, all right? In that time, one of the emails that I sent came back out. It came from Brooke Grove. And she said, hey, James, I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you. I'm a therapist. I have clients. I've got children. I've got a family. And I'm just getting back to you now. But your idea sounds kind of interesting. And I said, well, I guess I better email her back and tell her that I've already got the 4 people. I said, you know, that would be rude. I reached out to her. She's reaching out to me. Why don't I talk to her? Call up Brooke Grove. First thing I tell her is that. I said, hey, I wanted 4 people for the documentary film, and I've already got them. And she went, oh, well, that's a shame. I said, hey, Brooke, why don't you tell me your NDE story? She starts to tell me her story. And I'm kind of hoping that it's mediocre. I'm hoping that it's mediocre so I can turn her down at the end of the phone call and say, that was a nice story, but I'm sticking with the 4. Folks, it was anything but mediocre. Incredible NDE story. Not only was her NDE story incredible, the way she delivered it and told to me, the words that she used, was like poetry. It was like a piece of art. It was like music. And I remember in the phone call, I was like, is Brooke reading off a script or something? I mean, she's so articulate. And as it went on, I said, she ain't reading from no script. This is coming from her heart. I can feel it. She's like bearing her soul to me. She's telling me her NDE. And by the time that she finishes her story, I'm like, you know, I was angry. I was angry. I'm like, what am I going to do with this 5th story? Goodness gracious. And quite frankly, when I make a documentary film, I have raw ideas, and my raw idea was to have 4 NDEers. Okay? I don't like to go off track and deviate from the plan, and have little tributaries and so on. I want to stick with 4 NDEers, okay? And nothing was going to change my mind about that. Nothing. 0. Zilch. Nada. None. And when I say none, that means there's a small possibility for change. Now, Brooke Grove, she got me. Oh, she got me, all right? So all of a sudden, I have 5 people in the film, all right? Now, I'm going to fast forward here for just a minute. I'm going to come back to the planning stage, but let me fast forward. I actually start the film out with 4 NDEers, and they're telling about their near-death experience, and they're bringing back this wonderful, incredible message from the second world. I call it the second world. They're telling about the message. About 2/3 of the way through the film, I drop in Brooke Grove out of the blue. All right? Incredible, because I've already established the 4, and here's this 5th breath of fresh air. Now, Brooke Grove did not get the exposure as the other 4 people, NDEers, did. But her contribution to the film is incredible. So incredible that today, when I watch Peace on Both Sides of the Gate, I can't imagine the film without Brooke Grove. All right? Back to the planning stage. When you make a documentary film, you have to have a hook. You have to have a mission, a direction, a purpose of making the film. You can't just string NDE stories together and make a documentary film. You have to have a purpose. I knew what my hook was pretty early on. I said, I'm going to aim this film toward non-NDEers. People who didn't know what a near-death experience was. They didn't even know what NDE stood for. All right? NDEers would enjoy the film. They can identify with it. But my audience is going to be non-NDEers. And I wanted to drive home a couple of points really hard in this film. The first point was they went to this world and they brought back an incredible message. All right? Everybody in this room knows what that message is. Everybody in this conference knows what it is. This message is about love. The world is about love. That's what God wants you to do. He wants you to love. That's why the earth turns. That's the center and core of humanity. I wanted to drive home that point of love. Okay? And they gave up. They're in this incredible world, which Sharon Milliman says that there's no words for it. You can't describe it. You can't say it's beautiful or peaceful or timeless. There's no words for it. They left this world to give this message of love, to us come back to earth and give this message. Quite a sacrifice. I also wanted to drive home that they had a thrush of responsibility to tell the world about this. And we should really think about how we change our lives and live our life. Aim it toward love. Okay? That's exactly what I did. But little did I know, ladies and gentlemen, little did I know, boys and girls, that I was going to be extremely affected by this film. Okay? My life was going to extremely change, and I'll tell you why. Okay? A couple of reasons why. During principal photography of Peace on Both Sides of the Gate, I'm driving and flying around the United States because, gosh darn it, none of the NDEers lived in Maryland. Yeah, they're from Maine, New Jersey, West Virginia, California, and I'm all over the place. During this time, I'm at a very, very low point in my life. I'm in severe depression. I'm very, very much depressed because something had happened about 3 or 4 months before principal photography where an atrocious thing was done to me. Most unfair thing anybody had ever done to me in my life, and it was done by 2 of my friends who I loved and trusted, and I was there for them, and I was loyal to them, and apparently they weren't my friends, and they did this terrible thing. And I remember thinking at the time, I said, you know, I was talking to myself, I said, James, I've had so many challenges in my life. I've jumped over every hurdle to become the person that I am today, and there's nothing that I can't do. That's the way I feel. I feel there's nothing that I can't do. If I want to do it, if it's got merit, I'm going to do it. All right? And I also remember thinking, I said, I'm not going to get over this one. It's too hard. It's atrocious. I said, when I'm 90 years old, I'm going to be on my deathbed, and this thing is still going to be haunting me, this terrible thing that was done to me. All right? So this is what I'm going through filming the 5 NDEers. Okay? It's on my mind. I'm depressed. I'm also angry. I'm mad. I'm really mad at the 2 people who did this to me. I had so much anger. I didn't even know I was capable of having this much hate I'd never experienced before. I said, oh my God, I hate. Ladies and gentlemen, can I see by a show of hands how many NDEers are in this room? All right, a number of them. Hey guys, can you think of a better scenario for me? Can you think of a better scenario of what I was walking into? I'm filled with hate. I'm about to meet 5 people who are overflowing with a message of love. All right? Sharon Milliman alone when I met her, it's just like I was just surrounded by this warm glow. It was just incredible, and that's what I was feeling. I was like, hey, did you plant this film in my lap for a reason at this point in my life? Am I rationalizing this? I mean, it's just incredible. So, interesting tidbits to the story of filming the documentary film. My first stop was Maine, about an 11-hour drive from Maryland to Maine to film Peter Panagore. And he greets me at the door with open arms. We're in his house, and he's barefoot, which is nothing out of the ordinary. And then we go outside to do some filming on his property. And there's gravel and stones and little pointy rocks, and he's stepping all over them. And I'm like, Peter, doesn't that hurt the bottom of your feet? He goes, no. I love this feeling. I feel close to nature. I'm making a connection. I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to keep my shoes on. So I film him. On the way back from Maine, my next stop is New Jersey, on the way home, to film Jennifer Dean. Same deal. She's walking around barefoot all the time. I go, what is going on with these NDEers? They're always barefoot. They're barefoot all the time. So we started to, for Jennifer Dean, a portion of her contribution to the film was done outside in this little meadow. It was like a park with green grass and beautiful trees, special trees. And by the way, some of those trees in that park, they're her trees. She owns, I've seen the paperwork, she owns a couple of those trees, okay? And she does her meditation there, and there's a little babbling brook, and there's a stream, and it's just wonderful. And she's barefoot, barefoot in the park, right? And I say, well, why aren't you wearing shoes? And she goes, well, I want to feel one with nature. I feel with a connection. He goes, well, that's what Peter Panagore said. And she's like, yeah, all right. Third stop, West Virginia, Sharon Milliman, outside in her backyard, about to start the interviews. James, can I take off my shoes? Say, oh my God. They won't stop it with the bare feet. Now, there's one thing that all 5 of them had in common. All 5 of them, when I was filming them, I used a wireless mic like I'm wearing now. And there was interference, and there was hums and hisses and everything like that. I said, what's going on? And Jennifer Dean explained it to me. She goes, oh, that's probably us. We have a little interference with the airwaves here. I go, well, I certainly can tell that. So now and I solved the problem, by the way, of the audio. So I come back, and I'm going to edit all 5 of the NDE stories together, which is a Herculean effort. Anytime you do a documentary film, it's tough to do. And plus, I was really, really depressed, okay? Chris Batts explained it to me. He actually even says it in the film. He says, hey, you work for God now. And you kind of have a different set of instructions. It's a different path. It's not saying that it's harder than the rest of us. Everybody has trials and tribulations, but it's different. You have to realize that. And I go, well, I certainly know that. I'm used to following a different path. I was telling you about all these opportunities that I have to take. And I remember the very first time it happened. It was in 3rd grade, all right? I'm going to embellish the story just a little bit to add a little bit of humor. But I was in 3rd grade, and the teacher's sitting there in front of the class. I'm way over here in this corner, okay? And she's talking to the whole class. It's like 20, 25 people. And she goes, all right, class, I got an extra credit assignment here. I'm going to assign it to one of the students. I'm not sure it's going to be whoever it is going to have a lot of extra homework. Okay, they're going to have like triple or quadruple the homework as the other students. It's going to be harder. I will choose somebody at random to do this assignment, all right? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe. It was me the whole time, right? I said, goodness gracious. All right. So that was my first taste of the direction that I have to work a little bit harder and a little bit differently, okay? When I am editing the film, I'm editing a portion, I go, oh my goodness gracious, that is the most important moment of my life. The most important moment of my life is on film. It happens at 6 minutes and 48 seconds into the film. At 6:48, and I know it's 6:48 because I dog-eared it, all right? 6:48, most important moment of my life. I'm behind the camera. I'm not in front of the camera. Peter Panagore is in front of the camera. And he says, he's describing a portion of his NDE where he was shown the hurt and pain that he had caused a few people in his life, all right? But he was shown this hurt and pain from their perspective. Do you understand what I'm saying? He felt the pain that he had caused these people. I am sitting here frozen listening to this. He actually went on to say, which actually didn't make the final cut of the film, but he said, you know, it might be kind of nice if we took care of those things in this life. So you didn't have to face it when we enter the second world. Also might be nice for the people that you hurt. And I said, you know, if my 5 NDEers are bringing back this message of love and I'm making this film, why don't I follow that lead? I have to aim my life toward love, okay? I'm going to have to find the people that I hurt in my life, and I'm going to have to find them and make amends. Tell them that I'm sorry. I'm going to have to apologize. All right? Hard thing for me to do. I came up with 3 people. 3 people that I really hurt in my life. And I said I'm going to have to contact them. And I call this the first wave. The first wave from 648. Okay? Found the first person. Absolutely wonderful. He accepted my apology right away. We went out for dinner. We rekindled our friendship. It was just amazing. We see each other all the time now. Okay? From that one rekindling, it created a second wave from 648. See, 648 was like a cause and effect. Okay? I'll tell you about the second wave in a second. The second person in the first wave didn't work out that well. I reached out to this person. I kind of found them, and they kind of responded back. It was very strange, but didn't work out. The third person in the first wave, the jury is still out, but it's very promising. I think I'm going to reconnect with this person. But what I'm trying to tell you is the love that I pivoted to this first wave was something that caused a second wave. Guess what happened in the second wave? I got over my depression that I thought that I was going to live with forever. I got over it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a 100% well-rounded person. Far from it. I have many, many issues that I have to deal with. But those are the things that came from 648, and not just Peter Panagore, but really all 5 of them. And I have to thank all 5 of them for making the decision to come back to save me and to save so many people, and that's why I made the film. I made the film to keep going with this message and to reach a whole bunch more people about what love is and how important it is, and that's what we're supposed to be directing toward, okay? Now, I'm also very, very lucky that all 5 of my NDEers are in this room today, okay? Can they stand up for just a second? All right, these are my heroes here, all right? Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to end this presentation. I'm going to wind it up with something very, very positive. I want to end on a very good note. The film has gone out very many ways, and it's gotten wonderful responses. It's just been marvelous. And I had 2 that came in this morning. Okay? And I purposely didn't read them. I said, wouldn't it be neat if I shared the responses with the audience and they could experience it with me for the first time? So here we go. This was a great film. I was very moved. Gregory Peck's portrayal of the attorney Atticus Finch was very heartfelt. Isn't this To Kill a Mockingbird? Get out of there. All right. All right, here, the second one is about peace on both sides of the gate. In reference to peace on both sides of the gate, I laughed, I cried, and then I watched the film. Out of there. All right. No, I have a real one. Those are just jokes, okay? Came from a doctor. She had seen the film. And a patient came into her office, and this guy was absolutely beside himself. He was in dire straits. And he said, Doc, I am scared of death, okay? I cannot sleep. I can't sleep to the point that I'm missing work. I'm a shambles. You got to help me, Doc. And you know doctors, they have their little prescription pad, and they write prescriptions for Vicodin and Oxycontin and Clearasil or whatever those drugs are. So she put it aside, and she said, tell you what, I'm going to give you this blue card. It's the same blue cards that was on all your chairs, all right? Watch this film and come back to me in a couple of weeks. Patient comes back in 2 weeks and says, hey, doc, I don't need any of your drugs. I saw the film. I'm sleeping together, fine now. I'm back at work, and I am no longer scared of death. All right? Best testimonial I've ever gotten.